I'm Natrix for life, and I approve this message. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, forgive me for the long wait and the inactivity on the series for the last 2 months. After reaching the 50 subscriber milestone, I just wanted to keep y'all entertained, and I am glad to finally continue this. As always, hope you all had a good week, refreshed yourself, and came back for more. For those of you that are new to the series or channel, we are discussing autism and how it relates to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic characters in various chapters. If you missed the premiere kicked off with on World Autism Awareness Day and all other chapters after that, no worries, you can find those in the video's description. Thank you for tuning into that brief intro I put together. This is your host, Natrix for life, and alright, let's go. At long last, we have reached the subject of Twilight Sparkle, the princess of friendship and main character overall. She is another favorite of mine, and the character I felt most connected with since, well, forever. Regardless of gender, ethnicity, religion, or other things, there is always at least one character from a lot of shows or movies I've watched that I feel a deep connection with. With shows like Riverdale, it might be Jughead, a teenage writer who initially had a hard time coming out of his shell. In shows like Stranger Things, it might be Eleven, a superpowered being who is just awkward inside and out. For My Little Pony, it would have to be Twilight, who on more than one occasion has come off as being socially awkward. Needless to say, she's probably my favorite because she comes off as being socially inept. A few highlights include when she was constantly following her pupil, Starlight Glimmer, around and monitoring her actions with Trixie. For your information, Starlight is Twilight's novice friendship student, and Trixie is a troublesome character that has caused issues with Twilight in the past. Long story short, the Great and Powerful first appeared in the 6th episode ever, boasting about her magical abilities and going as far as to say that she can tame an Ursa Major, which ended up being a lie. After an Ursa Minor makes its way into town, Trixie feels like Twilight showed her up by taming it back to sleep. Later, Trixie returns to Ponyville and challenges Twilight to a magic duel after feeling humiliated, forcing her to leave after losing. Twilight comes back for a rematch and wins. So naturally, after all this time, you might see why Twilight did not want Starlight hanging around such a devious character. But she had entrusted Starlight before Hoof to have the independence to make her own friends, meaning that it was kind of out of Twilight's hooves at that point who Starlight befriended.
All my old friends. I can't remember any of their names right now.
Another scenario by which Twilight was socially inept: in her Canterlot days, before she started making friends, all she cared about was studying. There were a few ponies from Canterlot who considered her a friend, the main one being her former friend and idol Moondancer. Edit: I think it's worth clarifying that Moondancer used to find Twilight an idol, not the other way around. We covered Moondancer in the first segment of the series, as a pony who threw a party that Twilight missed because she figured studying was more important. Well, Twilight now wanted to fix things with Moondancer, who was just as dormant at this point and refusing to ever socially interact again after being hurt. She was constantly following her around and hounding her into making friends with other ponies again, hoping to change her mind, to no avail at first. Second edit, I suppose. Another awkward way Twilight was acting towards Moondancer was how she was monitoring the actions of the other pony. For 3 days straight with Spike and Minuet, the latter being another former friend of Twilight's. I am not going to cover this attribute as strongly, considering that there weren't many monitoring moments in the episode compared to the hounding, at least not on screen. So for the remaining duration of this episode's discussion, we will stick to Twilight's hounding. Twilight's convincing Moondancer to socialize again finally paid off, which was a nice sentiment that might make you go, "Aww," but not without its social flaws. Twilight began to push friends away via social awkwardness, in this case specifically being Moondancer. I, like Twilight, am guilty for having pushed those away, even if I didn't think I was initially doing anything bad. It's worth pointing out that these scenarios mentioned do not confirm whether Twilight is autistic or not, since anyone, neurotypical or not, could be socially awkward. But what is social awkwardness? Deriving a definition from the King University Online, and as pointed out by researcher Joshua Clegg of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, social awkwardness is a feeling we experience when we believe that our desire for being accepted by others is threatened in a given situation. This feeling incites us to turn inward, increase our self-monitoring, and attempt to behave in ways that will better our chances for acceptance. People who are consistently socially awkward have certain traits in common, states Dr. Tai Tashiro, psychologist for the University of Maryland and the University of Colorado. Socially awkward people tend to not take note of small social norms, not step out of their usual social comfort zones, usually have a knack for taking things apart, studying the various parts, then putting them back together, and having the ability to put their focus intensely in areas including math and logic. Tashiro goes on further to explain, while social awkwardness may be uncomfortable, it isn't necessarily a bad thing. With more intense focus comes certain skills and systematic thinking. In fact, socially awkward individuals often excel in specialized areas, bringing a unique perspective to their work and lives. Specifically for that part of the quote where we covered social awkwardness, where does Twilight Sparkle come in exactly? An example with Twilight here is that she ironically kept hounding Moondancer into making friends, which I think was starting to push Moondancer away. There is actually so much more to an autistic person than just the social interaction miscues. I know a lot of y'all are thinking this is a no-brainer, but I'm gonna go over it anyways. These include difficulty expressing emotions, obsessive habits and behaviors, being verbally disabled, and resisting physical touch. Most, if not all, autistic people may be awkward, but that does not necessarily make an awkward person autistic. This clears things up for me because before all the research I've done for the series, I used to think everyone who may not act socially normal were certainly autistic, diagnosed or not. But let's climb off the slightly irrelevant express, since those two facts do not regard our subject here, and back to when I said, or I guess Dr. Tai Tashiro stated, that being socially awkward is more of an annoyance, not something bad, and that these people have strengths in other areas. Does this part of the quote match up with the Princess of Friendship? Actually, yes. The character fits the bill with her interest in books and pursuits of academia. She initially chose these over friendship making, which is something we'll cover more of in a while. And, as we've established, Twilight Sparkle exhibits a typical autistic trait of social awkwardness, which might be needless to say. Let's look at another scenario, The Best Night Ever, where Twilight and her friends hit the annual gala event in Canterlot for the first time on the TV screen. Here, Twilight was hoping to have the attention of her teacher, Princess Celestia, all to herself for the evening, and couldn't stand that Celestia was giving attention to others. She resented how other ponies were coming up and wanting Celestia's attention as well. One Reddit thread went into great detail, giving example after example of autistic people pushing friends away by acting clingy towards others. A common theme in many of the scenarios presented by Reddit contributors, both neurotypical and autistic, is that autistic people often display clingy and obsessive tendencies with friends after previously being betrayed by others, feeling lonely and or having a limited number of friends to associate with. Given how other people in the comments of the thread either had also acted or continued to act clingy, for example, a commenter did it as a result of loneliness, or and the commenters wrote that the Asperger individual referred to in the thread acted clingy towards the author because that individual is the only one they could count on or trust following the social betrayal scenario, my best explanation is that this ties in with how Twilight was acting towards her teacher, wherein a possible autistic figure wants to dedicate their entire time to one pony and one pony alone. Likewise, that pony wants the exclusive attention of her friend. Just like Twilight, I have felt the exact same way in the past. A hypothetical is that I will be interacting with someone, and before too long, other people are also wanting their attention. It could be any given situation, such as at a store, where I am talking to an employee, but it's their duty to help another customer or customers out as well. Or it could be a party setting, where I am chilling with someone and suddenly they want to chill with others. Although I might feel the same in both examples, the latter is more likely to transpire, because that person hanging with me might be the only one I am familiar with, and the whole purpose of us going together was to avoid being interwoven with others, or at least that is how I interpret it. A neurotypical person would likely interpret the same scenario as two friends attending a party together in order to meet and spend time with a variety of people. A commenter on the Reddit thread backs up what I say by being afraid of social exclusion as the reason behind their former clingy attributes. And finally, given that Twilight was still quite novice to friendship making, it's not far-fetched to assume that this episode is a highlight of her premature social ineptitude. In the series premiere two-parter, Celestia sent Twilight to Ponyville, where the young pony's only fascination was in the books she wanted to read and study from, and wasn't willing to give friendship much of a chance, which is something I mentioned earlier. From the get-go, she was specifically trying to learn more about Celestia's sister Luna, who had evolved into Nightmare Moon after her heart got consumed by darkness, and legend read that both entities were supposed to return after being exiled for millennia. But in general, Twilight is a bookworm who loves to study just about anything. Such interests have fared autistic people well in life, according to Spark for Autism. A couple of examples are Dr. Temple Grandin, PhD, professor of Colorado State University, gifted designer of cattle handling facilities, and author and authoritative speaker of autism issues, and John Elder Robinson, who has been a musical engineer for KISS, associated with the Milton Bradley Company, the author of books such as Look Me Through the Eye, My Life with Asperger's, and the founder of Robinson Service, an automobile company hailing from Springfield, Massachusetts. But Twilight was cocky and initially adamant about not making friends, because even though this is what her teacher Celestia assigned her to do, the big kicker was that she would have to step out of her usual routine. It took time spending with these ponies and realizing what makes them special that made her come to the conclusion that friend making was worth it after all. Twilight Sparkle and her friends became the holders of the elements of harmony, and bringing these six together was the key to not only defeating Nightmare Moon, but redeeming Luna to her future self. The gist here is, the issue wasn't Twilight's interest in studying, it was the fact that she was letting it dominate everything else, or most other things, and had difficulty finding balance. A better way to label it that may make more sense is routine change, which is a struggle a lot of autistic people go through. I deal with it on a pretty frequent basis, but I also think Twilight preferred these books over socializing because that is pretty typical of autistic people. Or ponies. They choose these things, these interests, over social interactions. I made this funny video a while ago showing how Twilight tends to be a seemingly creepy character. As stated earlier, these interactions are made most abundantly clear with Starlight, Glimmer, and Moondancer, but there could be other characters she treats this way that I overlook. Needless to say, the likelihood of Twilight actually possessing autism means that there will be times when she is socially awkward. She may be the princess of friendship as the series progressed, yet that doesn't mean she innately understood the ins and outs of positive social interactions. It seems it was something she had to learn as a skill, as many autistic individuals do. As for the video I made a little while ago, where I portrayed Twilight to be a stalker, it was for humorous intent. Twilight isn't a bad character. She's just a character that isn't masterful in reading boundaries. Now I wonder, was Twilight meant to be the princess of friendship precisely because she had struggled with social skills so much and she had remained resilient and kept getting back up? She is one of the most persistent and resilient characters in the whole show and makes this abundantly clear in various episodes. 1. The Return of Harmony, 2. A Canterlot Wedding, 3. Mystery Magical Cure, and 4. Mending Fences, to name a few. Just so we are clear, perseverance is when someone gets stuck on a certain topic or idea, according to understood.org. I'll give you an example. The segment to the Autism series. Woo! I never thought I'd be able to finish. Sure, I needed to get away from it here and there, but I kept going and didn't give up even when things got tough. I've always had this stubborn factor to me, but there are 2 levels. I've been stubborn for the right reasons, and often digging my heels for the wrong. I used to give up quite a bit, and I'm slowly but surely getting better at keeping with things. Just ask my parents.
Hey there.
They'll tell you. Finally, the reason Twilight's my favorite character, I think, is because all the characters I've mentioned till now do come off as having autistic attributes, but every one of Twilight's I brought to the table seems to have a link with mine, with the exception of premature interests like book reading compared to friendship making. For as long as I can remember, I have always preferred socializing over trying to pursue a career path. I'd go as far as to say, as autistic people go, I am probably one of the most social. And not that socializing is a bad thing, but I do need to find balance. I do need to find a career path, and I am still trying to work that out. So, who knows? If Twilight was able to stubbornly refuse friendship when it came knocking, until finally letting it in with open hooves, maybe I can do the same with some passion, or passions. Before I get to that lousy epilogue, I figured I'd give y'all something a little extra and unveil some of the voice recording bloopers/outtakes from this week's segment. They might just be hilarious, I don't know. Let's have a listen. Her convincing to socialize again finally paid off, which was a nice sentiment that make people who are Where do autism and Twilight Sparkle intersect exactly? There is actually so much more to an autistic person than just the social interaction miscues. These include difficulty expressing. Where do autism and Twilight Sparkle intersect exactly? There is actually so much more to an autistic person than just the social interaction miscues. These include difficulty expressing emotions, obsessive habit. Oh gosh. Where do autism and Twilight Sparkle intersect exactly? There is actually so much more to an autistic person than just the social. Where do autism and Twilight Sparkle intersect exactly? There is actually so much more to an autistic person than most, if not all, autistic people may be awkward, but that does not necessarily make an awkward person autistic. This clears things up for me because before all the research, I used to think everyone who may not act socially normal automatically equated to their being autistic. Twilight comes back for a rematch and wins. So naturally, after all this time, you might see why Twilight did not want Starlight hanging around such a devious character, but she had entrusted Starlight before Hoof to have the independence to make her own friends, meaning that it was kind of out of Twilight's hooves at that point who Starlight befriended. Twilight comes back for a rematch and wins. So naturally, after all this time, you might see why Twilight did not want Starlight hanging around such a devious character, but she had entrusted Starlight beforehand to have the independence to make her own. Second edit, I suppose. Another awkward way Twilight was acting towards Moondancer was how she, Spike, and Minuet, the latter being another former friend of Twilight's, were monitoring the actions of the other pony for 3 solid days straight. However, I do believe Minuet and Spike were just tagging along and not necessarily watching Moondancer like their third companion, but that's up to debate. I am not going to cover this attribute as strongly, considering that there weren't many monitoring moments in the episode compared to the hounding, at least not on screen. So for the remaining duration of this episode's discussion, we will stick to Twilight's hounding. So who knows, if Twilight was able to stubbornly refuse friendship when it came knocking, until finally letting it in with open arms? So who knows, if Twilight was able to... Before I get to that lousy epilogue, I figure I'd give y'all something a little extra and unveil some of the voice recording bloopers and outtakes in this... Before I get to that lousy epilogue, I figured I'd give y'all something a little extra and unveil some of the voice recording bloopers outtakes in this week's segment. That might just be hilarious. I don't know. Let's have a listen. That might just be hilarious. I don't know. Let's have a listen. Well, we covered a lot of ground this chapter, and this week. My goal for this series is to have autistic people and Neros come together and take something away from this. Tell me which part stood out to you the most, which parts you agree with or had some differing thoughts by commenting me below. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news. I always love being told what is unfortunate first, so that it is gone, it is over with, and I want to do that with y'all. I hope y'all have appreciated My Little Pony Through the Eyes of Autism, because this is actually the very last time I will share the experience with y'all. The series is officially and quite unfortunately coming to a close, and I've really built an audience with this project, where we covered the topic of the characters Moondancer, Starlight Glimmer, DJ Pone 3, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Fluttershy, and now we conclude with my favorite character since forever, Twilight Sparkle. My one wish is that everyone really learned something from the 7 segments I wrote, recorded, edited, and uploaded. I could not have done it on my own though, but we will get to that in a minute. I want to talk to y'all. That's just what I want to do. After the first segment of My Little Pony Through the Eyes of Autism aired, I not only managed to garner 25 likes on that, and the numbers could change once the segment is on YouTube, but my channel suddenly got loaded with subscribers. 32 turned into 42. And now in July, I have over 50 subscribers, which is insane that it grew that huge in just a short period of time. My interpretation is that a lot of people subscribe because of the Autism series. So will the numbers drop tomorrow? Here is where the good news comes in. I think I have found the niche of Natrix for life, having these autism essays. Initially, I figured the series would be a one and done, but it's just a sample of what's to come. This could really turn into something. So if nothing else, let me know your thoughts on that, and let me know if there are some ideas specifically that I can transform and convert into a video. I'm all ears, so lay them on me. You can even comment right now as I continue babbling if that is your preference. I would like your suggestions on specific social and personal situations that can be difficult for people with autism to navigate. Storytime Natrix for Life edition. Everyone loves stories, right? Let me tell you one. Get comfy, get your popcorn, get your chocolate bar or cup of coffee, whatever suits you, because this story is going to be a long one. Who's ready? Alright, Christmas Day 2020. My videos were mediocre and my view count, despite the best effort I put into any video, I did not see myself really getting any better than I was right then. But that's not even the worst part. Long story short, since that October I'd been working hard on a video as a Christmas present for a friend. And it was just a disaster. I was so disappointed. Needless to say, due to YouTube's copyright system, the video never actually managed to surface. Looking back, I realized the video was rubbish and really lacked quality. Luckily, I was able to reincarnate it months later as what you see on screen. But let's not lose focus. I was literally spending Christmas Day moping. Can y'all believe that? The most joyous time of the year, and Natrix for Life was sad. It got so bad that my thoughts at that point were, is it time to throw in the towel? It almost became the remainder of my day. And then, a miracle happened. The miracle's name is MLP Disney Lovers, and I had stumbled upon their autistic interpretation video about a month prior, only wanting to watch it on a special occasion. Little did I know, the idea ended up blossoming into something worthwhile. So first and foremost, I want to thank MLP Disney Lover for not only saving my Christmas, but also for playing the role as the inspiration behind this enormous project. Now, the stock photos are used early on derived from deposit photos in Dreamstime, but later I ended up switching to Unsplash for the most part. Whether currently or formerly, I also use stock photos deriving from Pexels, and probably other sources I just can't remember, as well as wallpaper art. But no matter what, all credit goes to all those sources and their respective artists. And the stock footage I use is courtesy of three: Videezy, Videvo, and Pixabay. So, a portion of my viewers may be anxious or ready to see the sources I cited and used for this essay and its research, which will be put in the link below, but I also took the time to have it seen on screen. Big thanks to understood.org, sparkforautism.org, and King University Online, and the Reddit thread regarding social cleanliness for making the research work. Returning to the individuals and recipients I wish to list off, since the very beginning, I have put this name, Don Moore, in my essays. He brought me the mic that I was able to record with, and I am eternally grateful that he came through. Don, if you're watching this, I salute you, my friend. Thank you. Once upon a time, there was actually a draft of this essay with loads of chapters bunched together, and I went through and I revised each and every one of the chapters. But before I'd done that, Rainey Miller had served as my talented editor. Then after I revised the chapters, my mom went and re-revised them. Now take a minute and look at this list of people. Some of them may be big names, and you may be able to filter them out. But these people, Temple Grandin, Cody Lean, John Elder Robinson, are all autistic and yet still crazy talented, genius, and passionate in their career paths. One of the upsides is that they don't let their autism define them, but they are still a big inspiration in spite of all that. All these other names listed either helped out or they too served as some inspiration in some way. But it doesn't stop there. In the segment regarding Pinkie Pie, my own mother came on and did a voice feature, and man, she did really awesome. But she has done way more than share my creation, assist me with the research and script, or the recording I just mentioned. No, she and my dad are the reason I am where I am today. All the knowledge I've gathered over the years, having the ability to read, becoming less socially awkward, learning life lessons, none of it would have been possible without them. So this project, this essay, is just as much theirs as it is mine, and I love them every day for always being there for me, helping me out, and just supporting me in every way possible. These words come from my heart when I say, I am blessed that my life ended up this way, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. That's why I give to y'all the biggest shout out. There are friends and family from other places watching, as well as subscribers I have never met who have been great supporters of my content. But nonetheless, most of the people who came here to watch came here to get educated and open up to new ideas. I was glad to share the experience with you truly. But the journey doesn't end here, or at least it doesn't have to. Let's see what the future will hold, and just remember, as the title of the show has spoken of since the beginning suggests, friendship truly is magical. This is your host, Natrix for Life, signing off.